I keep comparing the first chapter of my story to the 10th chapter of someone else's, and then wondering why I feel behind. It happens almost without me noticing. I'll be working, doing fine, feeling okay about everything and where I am. Then I'll see someone my age, sometimes younger, who's already further along, already has the thing I'm working toward, already passed the part I'm currently struggling with, and in about those 3 seconds, everything I felt good about evaporates. Not because they did anything wrong, they just exist. They just posted their progress the way anyone does. And I took that progress and held it up against mine and came away feeling like I'm failing. But here's the thing I keep forgetting in that moment. I keep comparing my beginning to their middle. I'm looking at someone who's been doing this for years and measuring my month against it, and then treating the gap like it's evidence of something wrong with me. It isn't evidence of anything except that they started earlier. That's it. That's the whole difference. But my mind never frames it that way in the moment. The comparison is dishonest in a way that's hard to catch because it never compares the full picture. It only ever takes their highlight and hold it against my behind the scenes. I see their results. I don't see the years of nobody watching. I don't see the version of them that was exactly where I am right now. Small, unsure, getting no response, wondering if any of it would work. That part is invisible. It already happened. It got edited out of the story by the time I showed up to watch. So, what I'm exactly comparing myself isn't them to me, it's their chapter 10 to my chapter 1. And no chapter 1 in history has ever looked good to a chapter 10. But the mind doesn't care about that. The mind just sees the gap and feels the inadequacy and moves on, leaving the feeling behind without the context that would make the feeling make sense. And I sit there without inadequacy, fully believing it, when it was built on comparison that was never fair to begin with. What makes it worse is how specific the comparisons have gotten. It used to be vague. I'd see someone successful and generally feel behind. That was easier to dismiss because it was abstract. Now it's precise. I see someone my exact age in my exact space doing the exact thing I'm trying to do but further along. And that precision makes the comparison feel undeniable. Like we started from the same place, we are the same age, and there they are and I'm here. So the difference must be me. But even that isn't true because the same age isn't the same as the same path. Someone could be my age and have started 3 years before me. Could have had resources I don't have. Could have had a mentor, a network, a head start I can't see. Could have failed quietly 5 times before the success I'm looking at now. Same age means almost nothing. The number of years lived is not the number of years spent on the thing. But the comparison flattens all of that. It reduces a complex, invisible history into a single visible gap, and then hands me that gap as if it's the full story. I have noticed comparison only ever flows in one direction. I never compare myself to the people behind me, to the version of me from a year ago, to the people who haven't started at all. That comparison would make me feel fine, maybe even good. So my mind never reaches for it. It only ever reaches upward, always toward the people further along, always toward the gap that makes me feel worse. And that tells me something. It tells me comparison isn't actually about measuring reality. If it were, it would measure in both directions. It would be balanced, but it's not balanced, it's selective. It specifically seeks out the comparison that hurt and ignores the one that wouldn't. Which means comparison isn't information. It's mood disguised as information. It's a feeling that goes looking for evidence and only collects the evidence that confirms it. Once I saw that, I started trusting the comparison less. Not because they're never true. Sometimes other people really are further along. But because the feeling behind the comparison isn't trying to inform me, it's trying to convince me of something I'd be better off not believing. I think the deepest version of this is impatience, because underneath the comparison is a wish that I were already there, that I could skip the part I am in, that the middle I see in other people could just be mine now, without the years it takes to build. But that wish is impossible, and An impossible wish is guaranteed way to feel permanently bad about yourself, because reality will never match it. And I will always be exactly as far along as the work I have actually done. No further, and no amount of looking at other people's progress moves me forward an inch. If anything, it moves me is backward, because the time I spend comparing is the time I'm not building. The hard part is that comparison doesn't go away just because I understand it. That's what I keep learning. Understanding something and being free of it are two different things. I can fully see that comparing my beginning to their middle is irrational, and still feel the sting the next time it happens. The insight doesn't stop the reflex. It just gives me something to hold on to after the reflex fires. So I've stopped trying to eliminate it. That was a losing battle. Trying to never compare is like trying to never have an intrusive thought. The effort just makes it louder. Instead, I'm trying to change what I do after. When the comparison hits, I let it. I don't fight it, but then I add context to the comparison left out. I remind myself that's their middle. You are at the start. The version of them at your stage looked exactly like you. You're not seeing the version that they were years back. You are seeing the results of years. It doesn't erase the feeling, but it shrinks it. It takes something that felt like a proof of failure and turns it back into what it actually is, a snapshot missing most of its context. I'm still going to compare. I know that now. It's going to happen tomorrow. Someone my age further along, and the same 3-second collapse of everything I felt good about. I've stopped expecting to be above of it, but I'm getting better at what comes after, and adding back the context, at remembering that I'm watching them middle and living a beginning, and that those two things were never supposed to look the same. Everyone further along than me was exactly here, small, unsure, comparing themselves to someone else's middle, feeling behind, not knowing if it would work. The only difference between them and me is that they kept going through the exact feeling, so I'll keep going through it too. Not because the comparing stops, because the building is the only thing that ever actually moved me forward, and watching other people has never done that. My beginning is allowed to look like a beginning. I'm going to let it.